The Morontia book, section 2, the local universe. Paper 44, the Celestial Artisans. The Celestial Artisans. Among the courtesy colonies of the various divisional and universe headquarters worlds may be found a unique order of composite personalities denominated the Celestial Artisans. These beings are the master artists and artisans of the morontia and lower spirit realms. There are the spirits and semi-spirits who are engaged in morontia embellishment and in spiritual beautification. Such artisans are distributed throughout the grand universe. On the headquarters worlds of the superuniverses, the local universes, the constellations and systems, as well as on all spheres settled in light and life. But their chief realm of activity is in the constellations and especially on the 770 worlds surrounding each headquarters sphere. Though their work may be almost incomprehensible to the material mind, it should be understood that the morontia and spirit worlds are not without their high arts and supernal cultures. The celestial artisans are not created as such. They are a selected and recruited corps of beings composed of certain teacher personalities native to the central universe and their volunteer pupils drawn from the ascending mortals and numerous other celestial groups. The original teaching corps of these artisans was sometime assigned by the Infinite Spirit in collaboration with the 7 master spirits and consisted of 7,000 Havona instructors, 1,000 to each of the 7 divisions of artisans. With such a nucleus to start with, there has developed through the ages this brilliant body of skillful workers in spirit and morontia affairs. Any morontia personality or spirit entity is eligible for admission to the corps of the celestial artisans, that is, any being below the rank of inherent divine sonship. Ascending sons of God from the evolutionary spheres may, after their arrival on the morontia worlds, apply for admission to the artisan corps, and if sufficiently gifted, may choose such a career for a longer or shorter period. But no one may enlist with the celestial artisans for less than 1 millennium, 1,000 years of super-universe time. All celestial artisans are registered on the super-universe headquarters, but are directed by morontia supervisors on the local universe capitals. They are commissioned in the following 7 major divisions of activity by the Central Corps of Morontia Supervisors, functioning on the headquarters worlds of each local universe. Well, the first is Celestial Musicians, 2 Heavenly Reproducers, 3 Divine Builders, 4 Thought Recorders, and 5 Energy Manipulators, 6 Designers and Embellishers, and 7 Harmony Workers. The original teachers of these 7 groups all hailed from the perfect worlds of Havona, and Havona contains the patterns, the pattern studies for all phases and forms of spirit artistry. While it is a gigantic task to undertake to transfer these arts of Havona to the worlds of space, the Celestial Artisans have improved in technique and execution from age to age. As in all other phases of the ascending career, those who are most advanced in any line of endeavor are required constantly to impart their superior knowledge and skill to their less favored fellows. You will first begin to glimpse these transplanted arts of Havona on the mentioned worlds. And their beauty and your appreciation of their beauty will heighten and brighten until you stand in the spirit halls of Selvington and behold the inspiring masterpieces of the supernal artists of the spirit realms. All these activities of the morontia and spirit worlds are real to spirit beings. The spirit world is a reality. To us, the material world is the more unreal. The higher forms of spirits freely pass through ordinary matter. High spirits are reactive to nothing material excepting certain of the basic energies. To material beings, the spirit world is more or less unreal. To spirit beings, the material world is almost entirely unreal, being merely a shadow of the substance of spirit realities. I cannot, with exclusive spirit vision, perceive the building in which this narrative is being translated and recorded. A divine counselor from Uversa who comes, or better said, who chances to stand by my side, perceives still less of these purely material creations. We discern how these material structures appear to you by viewing a spirit counterpart presented to our minds by one of our attending energy transformers. This material building is not exactly real to me, a spirit being, but it is, of course, very real and very serviceable to material mortals. There are certain types of beings who are capable of discerning the reality of the creatures of both the spirit and the material worlds. Belonging to this class are the so-called fourth creatures of the Havona servitals and the fourth creatures of the constellations. The angels of time and space are endowed with the ability to discern both spirit and material beings, as also are the ascending mortals subsequent to deliverance from the life in the flesh. After attainment of the higher spirit levels, the ascenders are able to recognize material, morontia, and spirit realities. There is also here with me a mighty messenger from Uversa, an ascendant adjuster fused, one-time mortal being, sorry, and he perceives you as you are, and at the same time he visualizes the solitary messenger, the supernavim, and other celestial beings present. Never in your long ascendancy will you lose the power to recognize your associates of former existence. Always as you ascend inward in the scale of life, will you retain the ability to recognize and fraternize with the fellow beings of your previous and lower levels of experience. Each new translation or so-called resurrection will add one more group of spirit beings to your vision range without in the least depriving you of the ability to recognize your friends and fellows of former estates. All this made possible in the experience of ascending mortals by the action of the indwelling thought adjusters, through their retention of the duplicates of your entire life's experience. You are assured of never losing any true attribute you once had. And these adjusters are going through with you as a part of you, in reality as you. But I almost despair of being able to convey to the material mind the nature of the work of the celestial artisans. I am under the necessity of constantly perverting thought and distorting language in an effort to unfold to the mortal mind the reality of these morontia transactions and near spirit phenomena. Your comprehension is incapable of grasping, and your language is inadequate for conveying the meaning, value, and relationship of these semi-spirit activities. And I proceed with this effort to enlighten the human mind concerning these realities, with the full understanding of the utter impossibilities of my being very successful in such an undertaking. I can do no more than attempt to sketch a crude parallelism between mortal material activities and the manifold functions of the celestial artisans. If the Urantia races were more advanced in art and other cultural accomplishments, then could I go that much farther in an effort to project the human mind from the things of matter to those of morontia. About all I can hope to accomplish is to make empathetic the fact of the reality of these transactions of the morontia and the spirit worlds. 1. This is the first group of 7. The celestial musicians. With the limited range of mortal hearing, you can hardly conceive of morontia melodies. There is even a material range of beautiful sound unrecognized by the human sense of hearing, not to mention the inconceivable scope of morontia and spirit harmony. Spirit melodies are not material sound waves, but spirit pulsations received by the spirits of celestial personalities. There is a vastness of range and a soul of expression, as well as a grandeur of execution associated with the melody of the spheres that are wholly beyond human comprehension. I have seen millions of enraptured beings held in sublime ecstasy, while the melody of the realm rolled in upon the spirit energy of the celestial circuits. These marvelous melodies can be broadcast to the uttermost parts of a universe. And due to the fact that we, Urantia, are still in a spiritual quarantine, we are not able also to hear this and to experience this celestial music. The celestial musicians are occupied with the production of celestial harmony by the manipulation of the following spirit forces. 1. Spiritual sound. spirit current interruptions. 2. Spiritual light, the control and intensification of the light of the morontia and spiritual realms. 3. Energy impingements, melody produced by the skillful management of the morontia and spirit energies. 4. Color symphonies, melody of morontia color tones. This ranks among the highest accomplishments of the celestial musicians. 5. Harmony of associated spirits, the very arrangement and association of different orders of morontia and spirit beings produce majestic melodies. 7. Melody of thought, the thinking of spiritual thoughts can be so perfected as to burst forth in the melodies of Havona. 7. The music of space, by proper attunement, the melodies of other spheres can be picked up on the universe broadcast circuits. And what I say, because we are still in a spiritual quarantine as planet, the entire broadcast circuitry is not yet reopened. And as soon as this spiritual quarantine is being lifted up and moved away, and as soon as the entire planetary broadcasting system works efficiently again, then we are able to hear this also here on Urantia. There are over 100,000 different modes of sound, color, and energy manipulation, techniques analogous to the human employment of musical instruments. Your ensembles of dancing undoubtedly represent a crude and grotesque attempt of material creatures to approach the celestial harmony of being, placement, and personality arrangement. So the way they see how we are creating music here in this world is actually a crudeness for them to hear and to see. And it's our attempt to try our best to get in a certain way a bit into the direction of, celestial music. But our instruments are not able to reach that. There are some, I think, and one of them is the harp. The harp as instrument is an instrument that is coming closer to it, and I think some not the mechanical drums, but the drums made from wood and skin. The other 5 forms of morontia melody are unrecognized by the sensory mechanism of material bodies. Harmony, the music of the 7 levels of melodious association, is the one universal code of spirit communication. Music, such as Urantia mortals understand, attains its highest expression in the schools of Jerusalem, the system headquarters, where semi-material beings are taught the harmonies of sound. Mortals do not react to the other forms of morontia melody and celestial harmony. So our way of producing music is just kindergarten, and we think that we are quite advanced in creating music, but actually, in actuality, in comparison to celestial music and the celestial musical corps, we are just in kindergarten. As with many things, we here on Morontia are on the level of kindergarten. Appreciation of music on Morontia is both physical and spiritual, and your human musicians have done much to elevate musical taste from the barbarous monotony of your early ancestors to the higher levels of sound appreciation, but we are still not there. So we are still in kindergarten level, so to speak. The majority of Morontia mortals react to music so largely with the material muscles and so slightly with mind and spirit. but there has been a steady improvement in musical appreciation for more than 35,000 years. So we are, you can say, to what they are saying to us now, step by step, very slowly, because the mortal race is growing very, 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 very slowly, and their development goes very slowly. But we are still in the eyes and ears of celestials. Are we still in a certain way at kindergarten level? And we are making our steps to listen to music with mind and spirit, but it's not in a way yet as we can. Tuneful syncopation represents a transition from the musical monotony of primitive man to the expressionful harmony and meaningful melodies of your later day musicians. These earlier types of rhythm stimulate the reaction of the music-loving sense without entailing the exertion of the higher intellectual powers of harmony, appreciation, and thus more generally appeal to immature or spiritually indolent individuals. The best music of Morontia is just a fleeting echo of the magnificent strains heard by the celestial associates of your musicians, who left but snatches of these harmonies of Morontia forces on record as the musical melodies of sound harmonics. Spirit Morontia music not infrequently employs all 7 modes of expression and reproduction, so that the human mind is tremendously handicapped in any attempt to reduce these melodies of the higher spheres to mere notes of musical sound. Such an effort would be something like endeavoring to reproduce the strains of a great orchestra by means of a single musical instrument. While you have assembled some beautiful melodies on Morontia, you have not progressed musically nearly so far as many of your neighboring planets in Satania. So again, we are still in kindergarten level. If Adam and Eve had only survived, then would you have had music in reality. But the gift of harmony, so large in their natures, has been so diluted by strains of unmusical tendencies that only once in 1,000 mortal lives is a real musician is there any great appreciation of harmonics. So if Adam and Eve had only survived, then would you have had music in reality, but the gift of harmony so large in their natures, in the natures of Adam and Eve, because Adam and Eve were very musical, and their mission was actually to uplift the entire biological form and life, plasm better said, of humanity. So they were here to uplift the human race in totalness. And the things such as music, as humor, and art are actually from them. If they were not here, then we would not have had this. So this is the gift Adam and Eve brought to us, despite the default that happened due to their own impatience. And their own impatience made sure that the entire plan collapsed. And so their mission did not succeed. But they were the ones who brought humor, a high level of art and high level of music to this world. If they would never have been here, then we were still operating on the primitive level. So this is something we need to remember very well. I continue, has been so diluted by strains of unmusical tendencies that only once in 1,000 mortal lives is there any great appreciation of harmonics. But be not discouraged, someday a real musician may appear on Urantia. Well, probably that will be a musician coming from a different world. Another type of world with the mission to bring music, real music, to this world. Because let's be honest, the music that is being produced here on Urantia, well, at least the last 40 years, at least, you hardly can call that music anymore. So, and whole peoples will be enthralled by the magnificent strains of his melodies. It wouldn't surprise me at all if when the Trinity teacher sons are coming, which we will first get a magisterial son, and after he has finished his job here, then we will receive the Trinity teacher sons, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if then this real musician appears here on Urantia. And maybe it can also happen during the period of the magisterial son, who is about to arrive. One such human being could forever change the course of a whole nation, even the entire civilized world. It is literally true. Melody has power a whole world to transform. Forever, music will remain the universal language of men, angels, and spirits. So instead of language, it's actually music we are speaking in and through. Harmony is the speech of Havona. To the heavenly reproducers, mortal man can hardly hope for more than a meager and distorted concept of the functions of the heavenly reproducers, which I must attempt to illustrate through the gross and limited symbolism of your material language. The spirit morontia world has 1,001 things of supreme value, things worthy of reproduction, but unknown on Urantia, experiences that belong in the category of the activities which have hardly entered into the mind of man, those realities which God has, in awaiting for those who survive the life in the flesh. There are 7 groups of the heavenly reproducers, and I will attempt to illustrate their work by the following classification. 1. The singers, harmonists who reiterate the specific harmonies of the past and interpret the melodies of the present, but all of this is affected on the morontia level. 2. The color workers, those artists of light and shade you might call sketchers and painters, artists who preserve passing scenes and transient episodes for future morontia enjoyment. So it could be that those of us whom are very skilled, talented musicians, painters, and so artists, and so on. Yeah, it could be that these people are that their skills are being used in the morontia world too, so that they will develop it more and more. 3. The light picturers, the makers of the real semi-spirit phenomena preservations, of which motion pictures would be a very crude illustration. 4. The historic paganteers, those who dramatically reproduce the crucial events of universe records and history. 5. The prophetic artists, those who project the meanings of history into the future. 6. The life storytellers, those who perpetuate the meaning and significance of life experience. The projection of present personal experiences into future attainment values. And then 7. The administrative enactors, those who depict the significance of governmental philosophy and administrative technique, the celestial dramatists of sovereignty. Very often and effectively, the heavenly reproducers collaborate with the reversion directors in combining memory recapitulation with certain forms of mind rest and personality diversion. Before the morontia conclaves and spirit assemblies, these reproducers sometimes associate themselves in tremendous dramatic spectacles, representative of the purpose of such gatherings. I recently witnessed such a stupendous presentation in which more than 1 million actors produced a succession of 1,000 scenes. The higher intellectual teachers and the transition ministers freely and effectively utilize these various groups of reproducers in their morontia educational activities, but not all of their efforts are devoted to transient illustration. Much, very much, of their work is of a permanent nature and will forever remain as a legacy to all future time. So versatile are these artisans that when they function en masse, they are able to reenact an age, and in collaboration with the seraphic ministers, they can actually portray the eternal values of the spirit world to the mortal seers of time. Mortal seers of time. All right. The divine builders, number 3. These better said, there are cities whose builder and maker is God. In spirit counterpart, we have all that you mortals are familiar with, and inexpressibly more. We have homes, spirit comforts, and morontia necessities. For every material satisfaction which humans are capable of enjoying, we have thousands of spiritual realities that serve to enrich and enlarge our existence. The divine builders function in 7 groups. 1. The home designers and builders, those who construct and remodel the abodes assigned to individuals and working groups. These morontia and spirit domiciles are real. They would be invisible to your short-range vision, but they are very real and beautiful to us. To a certain extent, all spirit beings may share with the builders certain details of the planning and creation of their morontia or spirit abodes. These homes are fitted up and embellished in accordance with the needs of the morontia or the spirit creatures who are to inhabit them. There is abundant variety and ample opportunity for individual expression in all these constructions. 2. The vocation builders, those who function in designing and assembling the abodes of the regular and routine workers of the spirit and morontia realms. These builders are comparable to those who construct the morontia workshops and other industrial plants. The transition worlds have a necessary economy of mutual ministry and specialized division of labor. We do not all do everything. There is diversity of function among morontia beings and evolving spirits, and these vocation builders not only build better workshops, but also contribute to the vocational announcement of the work. 3. The play builders, enormous edifices are utilized during the seasons of rest, what mortals would call recreation, and in a certain sense play. Provision is made for a suitable setting for the reversion directors, the humorists of the morontia worlds. Those transition spheres whereon takes place the training of ascendant beings but recently removed from the evolutionary planets. Even the higher spirits engage in a certain form of reminiscent humor during their periods of spiritual recharging. For the worship builders, the experienced architects of the spirit and the morontia temples, all the worlds of mortal ascent have temples of worship, and they are the most exquisite creations of the morontia realms and the spirit spheres. 5. The education builders, those who build the headquarters of morontia training and advanced spirit learning. Always is the way open to acquire more knowledge, to gain additional information respecting one's present and future work, as well as universal cultural knowledge. Information designed to make ascending mortals more intelligent and effective citizens of the morontia and spirit worlds. So if you think that you were already there in one lifetime, you need to wake up. Because many people are fooling themselves that they can become as perfect as the Paradise Father himself is in just one lifetime. Well, that is not able. That's an illusion. 6. Morontia planners, those who build for the coordinate association of all the personalities of all realms as they are at any one time present on any one sphere. These planners collaborate with the Morontia power supervisors to enrich the coordination of the progressive Morontia life. And then as last, we have the public builders, the artisans who plan and construct the designated places of assembly other than those of worship. Great and magnificent are the places of common assembly. While neither these structures nor their embellishment would be exactly real to the sensory comprehension of material mortals, they are very real to us. You would be unable to see these temples, could you? Be there in the flesh. Nevertheless, all of these supermaterial creations are actually there, and we clearly discern them and just as fully enjoy them. For the thought recorders, these artisans are devoted to the preservation and reproduction of the superior thought of the realms, and they function in 7 groups. If you have listened well, then you come to the understanding that the number 7 is a very important number. All creation is based on the number 7. 7 superuniverses, 7 groups of this, 7 groups of that. 7 is a very important number. 1. Thought preservers. These are the artisans dedicated to the preservation of the higher thought of the realms. On the Morontia worlds, they truly treasure the gems of mention. Before first coming to Urantia, I saw records and heard broadcasts of the ideation of some of the great minds of this planet. Thought recorders preserve such noble ideas in the tongue of Uversa. Each superuniverse has its own language, a tongue spoken by its personalities and prevailing throughout its sectors. Well, I want to say this. At the moment there is a movement going on Urantia, for many still known as Earth, that claims that Hebrew is the language of the future. Yeah, and Hebrew is the language of the so-called kingdom of God, which is in actuality paradise of the Paradise Father. There is no such thing as a kingdom. What humanity has called kingdom must be paradise. Yeah, humanity is constantly adding their words onto things as they can understand it, what something is. So the Paradise Father doesn't do any titles so whatsoever, so there is only paradise, Paradise Father. So how can we know what the language of paradise is? Well, I know for certain it will not be Hebrew, but what it is, I do not know. What I do know is that every world has its own tongue. Every universe has its own tongue. Every constellation has its own tongue. And I think that the original tongue of Urantia is somewhere there, but we do not know anymore what the original tongue of Urantia is. We should ask the Paradise Father to reveal the original tongue of Urantia, actually. Because this planet has its original tongue. So those people who are enforcing others to learn Hebrew, they do not understand anything, and these are people who lack deeper understanding, and they are not hungry nor thirsty for higher spiritual truths. Because if, well, better said, where does it come from that people are starting to think that Hebrew will be the language of what is in human terms called the kingdom of God? Yeah? Well, the only ones who can lure people into this false idea are the descendants of the Sanhedrin, Pharisees, Sadducees, scribes, high priests, and rabbis. Added to this group, the Jesuits. So, and of course they want to make us believe like this because they are, again, trying to recreate their Messiah image. And they also are trying to recreate their idea that the Israelite people should be the people of the world and all nations, and that the Israel nation must be nation above all nations. Well, this shall never happen because this is not in the plan of the Paradise Father. So every world has its own tongue. All right, I continue. This is known as the tongue of Urversa in our superuniverse. Each local universe also has its own language. You see, each local universe also has its own language. And each world in each local universe has also its own language. All of the higher orders of Nebadon are bilingual, speaking both the language of Nebadon and the tongue of Uversa. When two individuals from different local universes meet, they communicate in the tongue of Uversa. If, however, one of them hails from another superuniverse, they must have recourse to a translator. In the central universe, there is little need of a language. There exists perfect and well-nigh complete understanding. Only the gods are not fully comprehended, and the gods are referred to the Paradise Father, the Eternal Son, and the Infinite Spirit, and the Paradise Creator Sons, and all the other groups of Creator Sons. We are taught that a chance meeting on Paradise reveals more of mutual understanding than could be communicated by a mortal language in 1,000 years. Even on Selfington, we know as we are known. The ability to translate thought into language in the morontia and spirit spheres is beyond mortal comprehension. Our rate of reducing thought to a permanent record can be so speeded up by the expert recorders that the equivalent of over 500,000 words or thought symbols can be registered in 1 minute of Urantia time. These universe languages are far more replete than the speech of the evolving worlds. The concept symbols of Uversa embracing more than 1 billion characters, although the basic alphabet contains only 70 symbols. The language of Nebadon is not quite so elaborate, the basic symbols or alphabet being 48 in number. Wow, the basic symbols or alphabet being 48 in number. That's interesting. 2. Concept recorders. This second group of recorders are concerned with the preservation of concept, pictures, ideas, patterns. This is a form of permanent recording unknown on the material realms, and by this method I could gain more knowledge in 1 hour of your time than you would gain in 100 years of perusing ordinary written language. So again, we are still in kindergarten level and operating from a kindergarten level. Well, we see it all around us, because if you see how the political system, all those are ruling this world, it's all based on kindergarten level. Humanity is still on kindergarten level with many things. 3. Ideograph. So the third group is ideograph recorders. We have the equivalent of both your written and spoken word, but in preserving thought we usually employ concept, picturization and ideograph techniques. Those who preserve ideographs are able to improve 1,000-fold upon the work of the concept recorders. 4. Promoters of oratory. This group of recorders are occupied with the task of preserving thought for reproduction by oratory. But in the language of Nebadon, we could in half hours address, cover the subject matter of the entire lifetime of a Morontia mortal. Wow! Your only hope of comprehending these transactions is to pause and consider the technique of your disordered and garbled dream life. Wow, disordered and garbled dream life. How you can in few seconds traverse years of experience in these fantasies of the night season. The oratory of the spirit worlds is one of the rare treats which await you who have heard only the crude and stumbling orations of Morontia. Mention here how many times they are using, the Celestials, the word crude. There is harmony of music and euphony of expression in the orations of Selfington and Edentia, which are inspiring beyond description. These burning concepts are like gems of beauty in diadems of glory, but I cannot do it. I cannot convey to the human mind the breadth and depth of these realities of another world. Point 5. Group number 5. The broadcast directors, well, the broadcast of paradise, the superuniverses and the local universes are under the general supervision of this group of thought conservers. They serve as censors and editors as well as coordinators of the broadcast material, making a superuniverse adaptation of all paradise broadcasts and adapting and translating the broadcasts of the Ancients of Days into the individual tongues of the local universes. Well, that's quite a job. Why do we not receive at the moment on Morontia the broadcasts? Because we are still under spiritual quarantine, and because of this, the broadcasting system, the entire circuitry system that is able to receive the broadcasts from paradise, from other, from the central universe and from other universes, and also from other local universes, is not functioning here. This will probably function as soon as the last contractions of the Lucifer rebellion has ended, which we are in this phase, and when the magisterial sun, because the I truly believe that we will receive a magisterial sun, and as soon as he has arrived, then and some clearing house has been done, then slowly but surely the entire spiritual quarantine will be undone, and then the entire circuitry of morontia will be restored, and then we are also able to receive the broadcasts of Central Universe, Paradise does, and other universes of universes, as well as from the local universes. The local universe broadcasts must also be modified for reception by the systems and the individual planets. The transmittal of these space reports is carefully supervised, and there is always a back registry to ensure the proper reception of every report on every world in a given circuit. These broadcast directors are technically expert in the utilization of the currents of space for all purposes of intelligence communication. 6. The rhythm recorders, Urantians, would undoubtedly denominate these artisans poets, although their work is very different from and almost infinitely transcends your poetic productions. Rhythm is less exhausting to both morontia and spirit beings, and so an effort is frequently made to increase efficiency, as well as to augment pleasure by executing numerous functions in rhythmic form. I only wish you might be privileged to hear some of the poetic broadcasts of the Edentia assemblies, and to enjoy the richness of the color and tone of the constellation geniuses who are masters of this exquisite form of self-expression and social harmonization. And then the 7th group is the morontia recorders. I am at loss to know how to depict the material mind, the function of this important group of thought recorders assigned to the work of preserving the assembled pictures of the various groupings of morontia affairs and spirit transactions, crudely illustrated. They are the group photographers of the transition worlds. Wow, that's interesting. They save for the future the vital scenes and associations of these progressive epochs, preserving them in the archives of the morontia halls of records. Wow, this is interesting, because I get, while I'm reading this through, that it could be possible that those whom are very talented people in painting, in photography, in singing, in art, in acting, and even are very talented as builders, yeah, as construction workers and so on. The idea that I get is that it is not without a reason that you are so highly skilled in the things that you're doing. Why is it that some people are very good in portrait painting, are very good in landscape painting, and so on, so on. Yeah, you have several levels of of specialized forms of paintings, and I think that it wouldn't surprise me at all if this is with a reason, that this is also helping in the next life that we are going to live, when we enter in the first mentioned world. They will then also see where our talents are, and if you are a very good photographer, then you could possibly also start working with these morontia recorders. Or if you're very good with rhythm, yeah, then it could be that you are probably able to work with the morontia rhythm recorders, and so on, so on, so on. Because why is it that you're doing what you're doing? There are people that are so skilled in photography, so skilled in arts and painting, or with pencils, or with other materials with which you can produce art, and they're so skilled in it. So this could be there. I think there is a link to this. I think there is a link to this. Why is it that you have people, they are so good with their hands, what they see their hands can make, and they're very good with creating a beautiful chair, beautiful table, a beautiful furniture, really beautiful. And there's many crafts work in it. Those who are able to build violins, guitars, and you know, all these musical instruments made from certain wood, and that is an art. If you can make that, that is an art. Making a beautiful guitar, that is that's an art, because it's an art to know how to work with wood in such a way, you know, that you can make an instrument out of it, and it also is sounding well, and that's an art. So I think there is a correlation here, but make your own conclusions when you hear this. But that is what I get during reading this text. Point 5. The energy manipulators. These interesting and effective artisans are concerned with every kind of energy, physical, mental, and spiritual. 1. Physical energy manipulators. The physical energy manipulators serve for long periods with the power directors and are experts in the manipulation and control of many phases of physical energy. They are conversant with the 3 basic currents and the 30 subsidiary energy segregations of the superuniverses. These beings are of inestimable assistance to the morontia power supervisors of the transition worlds. They are the persistent students of the cosmic projections of paradise. Then we have 2 mind energy manipulators. These are the experts of intercommunication between morontia and other types of intelligent beings. This form of communication between mortals is practically non-existent on Morontia. These are the specialists who promote the ability of the ascending morontia beings to communicate with one another, and their work embraces numerous unique adventurers in intellect liaison with which are far beyond my power to portray to the material mind. These artisans are the keen students of the mind circuits of the infinite spirit. And as you can hear, I speak in the term of I. Well, this I refers to the one who has brought us this information, and this information is coming from an archangel of Nebadon. So that is the I referring to. 3. Spiritual energy manipulators. So the manipulators of spiritual energy are an intriguing group. Spiritual energy acts in accordance with established laws, just as does physical energy. That is, spirit force, when studied, yields dependable deductions and can be precisely dealt with, even as can the physical energies. There are just as certain and reliable laws in the spirit world as obtained in the material realms. During the last few millions of years, many improved techniques for the intake of spiritual energy have been effected by these students of the fundamental laws of the eternal sun governing spirit energy as applied to the morontia and other orders of celestial beings throughout the universes. The fourth group is the compound manipulators. This is the adventurous group of well-trained beings who are dedicated to the functional association of the three original phases of divine energy manifested throughout the universes as physical, mindal, and spiritual energies. These are the keen personalities who are in reality seeking to discover the universe presence of God the Supreme. For in this deity personality there must occur the experiential unification of all grand universe divinity. And to a certain extent, these artisans have in recent times met with some success. 5. The fifth group, the transport advisors. Well, this corps of technical advisors to the transport seraphim are most proficient in collaborating with the star students in working out routings and in otherwise assisting the chiefs of transport on the worlds of space. They are the traffic supervisors of the spheres and are present on all inhabited planets. Morontia served by a corps of 70 transport advisors. Group number 6, the experts of communication. Morontia likewise is served by 12 technicians of interplanetary and inter-universe communication. These long-experienced beings are expert in the knowledge of the laws of transmittal and interference as applied to the communications of the realms. This corps is concerned with all forms of space messages except those of gravity and solitary messengers. On Morontia, much of their work must be accomplished over the Archangel's circuit. And the last group is the teachers of rest. And funny thing is that Jesus appointed one of his apostles to be busy with making sure that the other apostles would have on time their periods of rest. And this apostle was also appointed to finding activities that they could do, to have some playful rest. So the teachers of rest. Divine rest is associated with the technique of spiritual energy intake. Morontia and spirit energy must be replenished just as certainly as physical energy, but not for the same reasons. I am perforce compelled to employ crude illustrations in my attempts to enlighten you. Nevertheless, we of the spirit world must stop our regular activities periodically and betake ourselves to suitable places of rendezvous where we enter the divine rest and thus recuperate our depleting energies. Better said, loading the batteries, as we would say in human terminology. Reloading the battery. You will receive your first lessons in these matters when you reach the mentioned worlds after you have become morontia beings and have begun to experience the technique of spirit affairs. You know of the innermost circle of Havona, and that after the pilgrims of space have traversed the preceding circles, they must be inducted into the long and revivifying rest of paradise. This is not only a technical requirement of transit from the career of time to the surface of eternity, but it is also a necessity, a form of rest required to replenish the energy losses incident to the final steps of the ascendant experience and also to store reserves of spirit power for the next stage of the endless career. These energy manipulators also function in hundreds of other ways, too numerous to catalogue, such as counseling with the seraphim, cherubim, and sunobim regarding the most efficient modes of energy intake, and as to the maintenance of the most helpful balances of divergent forces between active cherubim and passive sunobim. In many other ways do these experts lend assistance to morontia and spirit creatures in their efforts to understand the divine rest, which is so essential to the effective utilization of the basic energies of space. And then point 6, the designers and embellishers. How I wish I knew how to portray the exquisite work of these unique artisans. Every attempt on my part to explain the work of spirit embellishment would only recall to material minds your own pitiful but worthy efforts to do these things on your world of mind and matter. This corps, while embracing over 1,000 subdivisions of activity, is grouped under the following 7 major heads. 1. The craft workers of color. These are they who make the 10,000 color tones of spirit reflection peel forth their exquisite messages of harmonious beauty. Aside from color perception, there is nothing in human experience to which these activities may be compared. And then the second group, the sound designers, spirit waves of diverse identity and morontia appreciation are depicted by these designers of what you would call sound. These impulses are in reality the superb reflections of the naked and glorious spirit souls of the celestial hosts. And then we have number 3, the third group, The emotion designers, these announcers and conservators of feeling, are those who preserve the sentiments of morontia and the emotions of divinity for the study and edification of the children of time, and for the inspiration and beautification of morontia progressors and advancing spirits. The fourth group, the artists of odor. The artists of odor. This comparison of supernal spirit activities to the physical recognition of chemical odors is indeed unfortunate, but Urantia mortals could hardly recognize this ministry by any other name. These artisans create their varied symphonies for the edification and delight of the advancing children of light. You have nothing on earth to which this type of spiritual grandeur can be even remotely compared. Group number 5, the presence embellishers. These artisans are not occupied with the arts of self-adornment or the technique of creature beautification. They are devoted to the production of multitudinous and joyous reactions in individual morontia spirit creatures by dramatizing the significance of relationship through the positional values assigned to different morontia and spirit orders. In the composite ensembles of these diverse beings, these artists arrange supermaterial beings as you would living musical notes, odors, sights, and then blend them into the anthems of glory. Now, and then group number 6, the taste designers. And how can you be told of these artists? Faintly, I might suggest that they are improvers of morontia taste, and they also endeavor to increase the appreciation of beauty through the sharpening of the evolving spirit senses. 7, the last group, the morontia synthesizers. These are the master craftsmen who, when all others have made their respective contributions, then add the culminating and finishing touches to the morontia ensemble, thus achieving an inspiring portrayal of the divinely beautiful and enduring inspiration to spirit beings and their morontia associates. But you must await your deliverance from the animal body before you can begin to conceive of the artistic glories and aesthetic beauties of the morontia and spirit worlds. And then 7, the harmony workers. These artists are not concerned with music, painting, or anything similar, as you might be led to surmise. They are occupied with the manipulation and organization of specialized forces and energies which are present in the spirit world, but which are not recognized by mortals. If I had the least possible basis for comparison, I would attempt to portray this unique field of spirit achievement, but I despair. There is no hope of conveying to mortal minds this sphere of celestial artistry. Oh, nevertheless, that which cannot be described may still be implied. Beauty, rhythm, and harmony are intellectually associated and spiritually akin. Truth, fact, and relationship are intellectually inseparable and associated with the philosophic concepts of beauty, goodness, righteousness, and justice are philosophically interrelated and spiritually bound up together with living truth and divine beauty. Cosmic concepts of true philosophy, the portrayal of celestial artistry, or the mortal attempt to depict the human recognition of divine beauty, can never be truly satisfying if such attempted creature progression is ununified. These expressions of the divine urge within the evolving creature may be intellectually true, emotionally beautiful, and spiritually good, but the real soul of expression is absent unless these realities of truth, meanings of beauty, and values of goodness are unified in the life experience of the artisan, the scientist, or the philosopher. So this means you always have to add the spiritual component to everything you do. No matter if you're a scientist or not, if you practice science without the spiritual component, or what you also could call the God energy, the God expression, spirituality, then your collected and achieved so-called knowledge and wisdom is actually worthless. And so if you succeed in getting into the morontia world, your soul is completely depleted because you never added the spiritual component to your work. And this is exactly what we see outrolled at the moment on Earth. All this science that is presented to us as a new religion does not have any spiritual component to it. There are scientists, I truly believe in real science and in real scientists whom are led by the leading hand of God the Father in their research, in their life, in their work. And these are scientists who take time to come to understandings, to come to answers, and who take time to come to the actual result of what they are doing. And they add the spiritual component to their work. So these scientists are actually helping their soul, because as soon as their soul enters morontia state, then it can bring something to the table, so to speak. These divine qualities are perfectly and absolutely unified in God, and every God-knowing man or angel possesses the potential of unlimited self-expression on ever-progressive levels of unified self-realization by the technique of the never-ending achievement of God-likeness, the experiential blending in the evolutionary experience of eternal truth, universal beauty, and divine goodness. So that is why we are walking this long journey of ascension. We cannot reach overnight this level of perfectness as the Paradise Father is. It took Christ Michael, as we know better as Jesus of Nazareth, almost 1 billion years to come to 987 million years. I have come to know. And this I know from other Morontia book readers, whom are studying this book for more than 10 years. And so this level of perfectness is a type of perfectness that takes so many thousands and thousands and thousands and so on years, and thus millions of years to reach that level. So all those who think that as soon as evil and darkness has been shoved away from this world, that we overnight become perfect spiritual beings, that is an illusion. That is not reality. Then you're not in reality. The last point of this paper, 44, point 8, mortal aspirations and morontia achievements. Although celestial artisans do not personally work on material planets, such as Urantia, they do come from time to time from the headquarters of the system to proffer help to the naturally gifted individuals of the mortal races. When thus assigned, these artisans temporarily work under the super races. When thus assigned, these artisans temporarily work under the supervision of the planetary angels of progress. So we get another idea of what we are calling alien life. So now you get more and more and more, hopefully, a deeper understanding of what the human governmental workers are trying to hide from the rest of us. They do not want us to get in contact with these celestial beings. So we are now getting more and more revealed what we are calling aliens and UFOs. The seraphic hosts cooperate with these artisans in attempting to assist those mortal artists who possess inherent endowments and who also possess adjusters of special and previous experiences. There are three possible sources of special human ability. At the bottom, always there exists the natural or inherent aptitude. A special ability is never an arbitrary gift of the gods. There is always an ancestral foundation for every outstanding talent. In addition to this natural ability, or rather supplemental thereto, there may be contributed the leadings of the thought adjuster in those individuals whose indwelling adjusters may have had actual and bona fide experiences along such lines on other worlds and in other mortal creatures. This information comes back in the chapter all about origin and nature of thought adjusters. This is paper 107 and will be presented to us as soon as we are journeying ourselves through the third section of this Urantia book or travel guide, which is called Origin and Nature. Which is called The History of Urantia. That's the third section. So then we get to know more about these thought adjusters. In those cases where both the human mind and the indwelling adjuster are unusually skillful, the spirit artisans may be delegated to act as harmonizers of these talents and otherwise to assist and inspire these mortals to seek for ever-perfecting ideals and to attempt their enhanced portrayal for the edification of the realm. So, shortly said, what is stated here, that the talents we have are not really what we think it is. We think in human terminology that we have inherited these from our grandfather or grandmother or some other person in the family line. But this is not so. You can have indwelt a thought adjuster that already has been in such a way developed and already has developed certain skills. And that explains why some people in this world are extremely skillful and are extremely good in certain things. So this is something we need to re-see, and that we need to step out of this idea of human talents. And talents inherited from our father or mother or grandfather, grandmother, or whomsoever in the family. There is no caste in the ranks of spirit artisans, no matter how lowly your origin. If you have ability and the gift of expression, you will gain adequate recognition and receive due appreciation as you ascend upward in the scale of morontia experience and spiritual attainment. There can be no handicap of human heredity or deprivation of mortal environment which the morontia career will not fully compensate and wholly remove. And all such satisfactions of artistic achievement and expressionful self-realization will be affected by your own personal efforts in progressive advancement. At last, the aspirations of evolutionary mediocrity may be realized, while the gods, which means the Trinity and the trinitized sons of the Paradise Father, the Eternal Son, and the Infinite Spirit, as well as those coming from the Paradise Creator Sons, and so on, do not arbitrarily bestow talents and ability upon the children of time. They do provide for the attainment of the satisfaction of all their noble longings and for the gratification of all human hunger for supernal self-expression. But every human being should remember, many ambitions to excel, which tantalize mortals in the flesh, will not persist with these same mortals in the morontia and spirit careers. As I read this, I read then that as soon as we die, all these ambitions will die too. The ascending morontians learn to socialize their former purely selfish longings and egoistic ambitions. Nevertheless, those things which you so earnestly longed to do on earth, and which circumstances so persistently denied you, if after acquiring true mota insight in the morontia career, you still desire to do, then will you most certainly be granted every opportunity fully to satisfy your long-cherished desires. All right. So that is interesting to know. So how I read this is, if you have really long cherished desires, but it couldn't come off the ground on earth, on here in when you were living a mortal life, then you will still get the opportunities and chances to satisfy these long cherished desires. Before ascending, mortals leave the local universe to embark upon their spirit careers. They will be satiated, respecting every intellectual, artistic, and social longing or true ambition, whichever characterized their mortal or morontia planes of existence. This is the achievement of equality, of the satisfaction of self-expression and self-realization, but not the attainment of identical experiential status, nor the complete obliteration of characteristic individuality in skill, technique, and expression, but the new spirit differential of personal experiential attainment will not become thus leveled off and equalized until after you have finished the last circle of the Havona career, and then will the paradise residents be confronted with the necessity of adjusting to that absolute differential of personal experience, which can be leveled off only by the group attainment of the ultimate of creature status, the seventh stage spirit destiny of the mortal finaliters. And this is the story of the Celestial Artisans, that cosmopolitan body of exquisite workers who do so much to glorify the architectural spheres with the artistic portrayals of the divine beauty of the paradise creators. So again, this paper 44 and all and all the information presented to us is presented to us by an archangel of Nebadon. And with this said, I have come to the end of reading this paper 44, all about the Celestial Artisans. A very interesting paper, I must say, and it gives a deeper understanding of what we will face when we make our next step in our ascension career. All right, I wish you all a beautiful, joyful day, and thank you so much for listening to this audio video, and God bless you.